debating and talking about the awarding of this penalty. Take it away, without your black and white glasses on.
Well, I'm delighted it was given a penalty from a Newcastle point of view, but I didn't think it was a penalty, no. I think Gordon's gone down because it's such a poor touch. He's never, ever getting anywhere near that ball, because he realises, I think, and he somehow... I mean, if there is a touch, it's a tiny touch, and he initiates the touch, Gordon, because of such as the... He's onside, there's no doubt about it, but that touch to go past Ederson he realises it's going too far away from him, and then all of a sudden he thinks, uh-oh, how do I now turn this into try and get contact? Watch his right boot. He then flicks that right boot out there to get the contact. So I think Newcastle got really lucky there. I didn't think it was a penalty at all.
OK. Shay, put yourself in Ederson's shoes from the goalkeeper's point of view.
Well, I think Al's explained it really well, to be honest, Steve. I think when we see it live, then I don't think it's a penalty. I think Ederson's come out as a 1v1 situation as a goalkeeper. He makes himself big, goes down, and in a sense, he doesn't touch the ball, but he doesn't touch Anthony Gordon either. You know, I think he's clearly looked for it, and you know, it's my ex-team as well, Newcastle. You know, I'm happy it's a draw as well, but the officials have to come to the right decision, and I don't think it's the right decision. Now, the very first angle we seen live, we thought that's not a penalty. We've seen all sorts of different angles now, slowed down. And sometimes that confuses, I think. I think the referees, what the VAR, have to make the right decision. And I think they made the wrong decision. I think it's not a penalty. I really don't. I think the referee's given it. Now, the people in VAR should say, just have a look at it. We think there's no real contact to give a penalty there. He sees it once, a ref.
We see it all the time. I've been in that position. I know what the forward's thinking. Your first thought is, once you make a decision to go around the goalkeeper, you've got to get your touch right. His touch is awful, his touch is taking him away from goal, and he can't get it. And once he knows he can't get his touch, his second thought is, right, how do I try and turn this into a penalty? So many players do it. So many players try and initiate the contact when they go around that. He's not getting that ball.
So therefore,
there's no doubt about it.
When they say he's denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity, is it a clear goal-scoring opportunity
if
he's not getting the ball?
He's not getting the ball. He might get to the ball before it goes out, but he's not getting to the ball to put it in. Therefore, his second thought is, oh, I've had such a poor touch, how am I going to turn this? I'll try and turn it into a penalty if the goalkeeper hasn't touched it. So then he's got to try and flick his right foot out. So many players do it. We've seen it all the time, and we'll see another 10 or 20 this season with players doing that. That is not scoring from that position. Therefore, within a split second, he's got to try and turn it into a penalty scenario, whereas he then has got to initiate the contact, and you can see the little flick of the right boot, and if there's any contact from Ederson, it's minimal, but it's because Gordon tries to get the touch from Ederson because he knows he's not getting the ball. I've been in that situation.
I think there's a picture where Ederson jumps up to the referee there as well and points to his head, as if like he's actually kicked him in the head. I think he's looking for that. Alan's right. He's flicked his right leg out and he's looking for it. Look, it's just frustrating, I think, and I'd be interested to see what Pep says after the game, but it's frustrating because whatever, you know, the bar's changed this season said referee's decision, unless it's clear and obvious, we can't change it in VAR, but I think the decision has to be the right decision. Be that the referee on the pitch makes that decision or the people upstairs, they have to come to the right decision. And you want, if, I don't know, call whatever word you want, say he's tricked the officials there. With VAR, you shouldn't be able to trick them at all. The pictures are clear to see, Steve. In my opinion, that's not a penalty.
Has Shay got a point? Stuart Atwell's had a look at that and agreed with the on-field decision.
I mean, we've heard them say it's going to be a really, really high bar. Look, I'm sitting here as a ex-Newcastle player and a Newcastle fan, and I'm actually saying I don't think that's a penalty. So if that's not enough, you know, to say I think that's an error, then that should be enough. I think the one after that was more of a penalty. When Joe Linton goes down with the collision with Kyle Walker. I think that was more of a penalty than that one. Now, what's the difference between the contact and him not getting the ball and the Ederson one there? Look, Kyle Walker hasn't touched the ball, yet he stopped Joe Linton getting to it. So I think that's more of a penalty than the first one.
Yeah, there's far more argument to give that as a penalty than the actual one they give him. So it's again, they talk every week about consistency. It's not consistent. You know, if there was a one penalty, then it's definitely the second incident. But again, they've said no.
What'll happen is after the game, you'll speak to the players and you'll speak to the managers. Pep will say he never thinks it's a penalty, and Eddie will say well, I think there might have been slight contact, and when you're running at that pace, it's a penalty. I get it. I've been there. I know how it works.
Having said all that, after a long wait, Anthony Gordon kept his cool, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. He was a threat with his running in behind, and there's a big pressurised situation. One against the goalkeeper. Who's going to blink first? And he sets himself up as if he's going to go to Ederson's left and just whips it to his right-hand side. And it was a cool penalty under big pressure.
Yeah, it was a cool penalty because, don't forget, they had to wait as well for everyone to complain to the referee, and they're trying to sort of delay the penalty kick. And the crowd are expecting as well St James's Park for him to stick it away, and that takes a lot of pressure. And again, he's a player who's high in confidence. You've seen the banner before the game. The fans love Anthony Gordon in Newcastle, and they'll love him more after today.
They gave him something in that role today, though, didn't they, in the absence of Wilson and Isaac?
No, he's a threat. There's no doubt about it. He's a threat in that position because of his energy, because of his pace. He's really clever at running in behind. I mean, his positioning to get into that position, when he wasn't offside, you know, Kyle Walker was keeping him onside for the penalty decision. That's what he's really good at. What Newcastle didn't help him and help themselves in terms of today was they got into some really good positions. But whether it was him not in the middle or them not delivering the right ball into whoever was in there, that's what sort of didn't help Newcastle today. But in terms of him being a centre forward, he's good in that. He's good at that job.
Now, as you keep telling me, it wasn't just Alan's goals in your career that won you points, it was Newcastle saves. And there was a very good one very late on from Nick Pope, wasn't
it? Yeah, it's amazing because Nick didn't have a lot to do today, Steve, but his concentration levels, you know, when a young goalkeeper's watching in the Premier League, the save at the last, this is an injury time, nearly last kick of the game, his concentration levels, again, to be honest, it's a save I'd expect him to make. But since he's been there, Nick Pope has been absolutely brilliant. A really bargain signing when you see some of the transfer fees going around. He made probably one of his very few mistakes last week against Fulham. But again, that save today, he's earned him 2 points.
92nd minute, that.
Yeah, really good save. We saw Ederson last minute of the first half produce a really good save from Joe Linton, and likewise with Nick Pope there. He's not had a lot to do in that second half, but what he had to deal with, he dealt with it really well, and it was a good save.
And let's remind ourselves how he was beaten in that first half. Gvardiol's 5 goals at the end of last season in 7 games. Yeah. But from Newcastle's point of view.
Yeah, we spoke as well about, obviously, last week, the Arsenal game, and there was no width from a Man City attacking point of view. Jack Grealish keeps the width on this side, Silva on the opposite side, does brilliant. Trippier jumps in, and then Dan Burn jumps in again. You'll see here at the bottom of the screen with Jack, keeps his position.
And if stand up, Shay. If he stands up to Grealish there, he doesn't go past him.
Yeah, but again, I think it's a bit of a heavy touch from Jack and sucks Trippier into to try and make the challenge. But again, it's when you make goals, always come sort of from mistakes. It's the first mistake from Trippier there, then it's played in now to Gvardiol. Dan Burn makes the second mistake, and before you know, Steve, it's in the back of the net, and it's really good for Man City, but Eddie Howe will be looking at this after the game. We have to defend better on that occasion.
If he just stands up to Grealish, he doesn't go past him as easy as he does. It's because he goes in and commits to the foul. To the tackle, I should say. Once he commits to go and get the ball, he has to win that ball as a defender. Otherwise, his team's in trouble. They're all over the place then because other players have got to get out of position because of his mistake. Dan Burn does exactly the same.
From Manchester City's point of view, they're still top at the moment. They're still unbeaten. But you felt without Rodri, they weren't quite their normal selves.
Just seemed a wee bit flat today, I felt. Obviously, De Bruyne was missing as well, and Foden's not started in the Premier League this season, so they're still not up to full speed, I don't think. Guardiola looked a bit frustrated on the sideline today. They didn't seem the Man City of old. We're normally sitting back watching this could be any scoreline, you know, at any opposition because they're so good. But again, that news of Rodri this week, I think it's probably hit the club quite hard because he's instrumental in everything they do. Even a couple of, you know, snapshots that Kovacic had second half. You know, if a Rodri's arriving, then perhaps it's a different outcome. He's so influential in this team. And again, they'll have to learn to deal with that as a football club as much as anything because he's so important. Even Rodri in the summer, when you see what he done for Spain, he was absolutely instrumental in them winning the Euros, you know. So he's a big loss for them.
I think listening to Pep's language in terms of the way he talked and spoke about Newcastle and the ground and the atmosphere and how tough it is at St James's Park. That was he knew that without 2 of his big hitters in Rodri and in Kevin De Bruyne, going to St James's is always difficult anyway, even with those 2. But without them, it was going to be a tough afternoon. And yeah, I didn't think they were great in what they did, but in terms you couldn't fault their effort, couldn't fault their determination. They didn't have as much spark as perhaps you'd expect them to.
From a Newcastle point of view, you're right, they haven't hit the standards yet, but they've got 11 points from the first 18. The last time that happened was 13 years ago under Alan Pardew.
Much better today, much better. I think what we or I have been saying, and a lot of the fans have been saying, is before last weekend against Fulham, they were getting the results without playing particularly well, and all right, that should be a good sign. But then they didn't perform well last week, and they got nothing, deserved nothing last week. So you've got to see a response. And we hadn't seen the Newcastle in terms of overpowering teams, which is what Eddie and Newcastle did so well for his first and second year in there. We hadn't quite seen that this season yet. For the first time, I thought, other than 5 or 10 minute spells in other games, for long periods today, I thought it was much better.
Talking of the Newcastle United manager, let's hear from him. Here he is.
Today, we analyse Manchester City's lineup for their last game against Newcastle United. We'll break down the formation, key players and tactics. Let's get started. Manchester City versus Newcastle lineup analysis. Match overview. In their clash with Newcastle, Manchester City looked to assert their dominance with a carefully crafted formation. Let's take a closer look at how they set up. Formation. Manchester City typically operate in a 4-3-3 cout formation, allowing them to maintain a strong presence in midfield while also pushing their attacking options. Player analysis. Let's break down the key players in each position. Goalkeeper, Ederson. Ederson is not just a goalkeeper. His distribution of the ball is vital to Manchester City's build-up play, often starting attacks with precise long passes. Defenders. Ruben Dias, Def. Dias provides leadership and defensive solidity. His ability to read the game is crucial against Newcastle's speedy attackers. John Stones, Defender. Stones is adept at dropping into midfield when in possession, adding an extra element to his control of the game. João Cancelo, Right Back. Cancelo's attacking prowess from right back allows Manchester City to stretch the pitch and create a wealth of attacks down the wings. Oleksandr Zinchenko, left back. Zinchenko's versatility is essential. He is capable of creating a five-man midfield when defending or moving forward to support attacks. Midfielders, Rodri, defending midfielder. Rodri is the pivot in midfield, cutting off the opposition's play and distributing the ball efficiently to start attacks. Kevin De Bruyne, midfielder. De Bruyne is the creative heart of the team. His vision and range of passing can open up any defense. İlkay Gundogan, midfielder. Gundogan's movement and ability to arrive late into the box gives City goal-scoring options from midfield. Forwards. Phil Foden, left winger. Foden's ability to dribble and penetrate makes him a constant threat. He can create chances or score goals himself. Erling Haaland, centre-back. Haaland's physicality and finishing ability make him a focal point in attack. He thrives on crosses and through balls. Jack Grealish, right winger. Grealish's ability to make mistakes and his precise control of the ball helps create space for others. It is a crucial element in one-on-one situations. Tactical approach. Manchester City's tactical approach is based on possession and quick transitions. Here are some of the key elements of their strategy. Possession play. Manchester City focus on maintaining high possession percentages, using their midfielders to recycle the ball and create space. High press. When out of possession, the team executes a coordinated high press to regain control quickly, often targeting Newcastle's defenders.